The dynamic duo is back. We're back. It's the right call. Cole, how are you?
I'm pretty good. I mean, we have to watch the Celtics every other night, so that usually sets me into a depression, but I'm pretty good.
Well, I've got great news for you on this podcast. We're not going to waste time talking about the Celtics on this podcast. Cole, we have so much football to talk about, and we have deprived our viewers of our podcast insights for the last few weeks, so we got a little catching up to do to start.
We do.
So, Cole, I figured a good place to start very briefly is I just want to touch upon the Patriots season. Obviously, they got humiliated by the Buffalo Bills, one of the worst, if not the worst performance under the Bill Belichick regime. And this is what I want to ask you, Cole. What's your takeaway in this season? It's a two-part question. What's your final kind of overview of how this season was for the Patriots, and what are you looking at next year as a next step, if there is one?
Well, I think the people that say Mack Jones doesn't have enough weapons around him are clownish. I think that, he could use a star receiver like Chris Godwin or Calvin Ridley or Devontae Adams, like one of those guys, but Jacoby Myers is fine. Kendrick Bourne is fine. You have a great tight end in Hunter Henry. You have another great tight end in Jonnu Smith. They just don't use him properly. You have a slightly receiving back in Ramondre Stevenson. You have offensive weapons in Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson in the running game. So I think that offense is going to be high-powered in the future. I just think that's one of the big takeaways for me. Like, if it was up to me, whether you can go get a great defender or a great wide receiver, I'd go for the great defender at this point.
Well, Cole, a couple things. Before the season started, we went on the podcast, and we actually talked prior to the season is what's the goal for the Patriots this season? And for me, no matter what happened, the goal was, do we have a starting quarterback of the future? Do we have? And we do. Mack Jones is certainly not Josh Allen. He's not Pat Mahomes. He doesn't have the physical gifts those guys do. But can Mack Jones be a consistent, accurate, reliable starter? Yes. As far as your comments about the weapons, I really disagree with you on a couple of fronts. First of all, Jonnu Smith was a disaster. Jonnu Smith coming into this season should have been a very good tight end like he had been in the last couple of years. It wasn't so much the Patriots didn't use him, it's that he underachieved. He committed dumb penalties at the wrong times. He was running wrong routes. He was turning the ball over in the first half of the season, and the Patriots never just regained trust in him. And you know how that is with Belichick. If he loses trust, you're in the doghouse. You don't even play. But the point is you're investing $27 million in tight ends, and you're not using one of them and not giving him a chance to use him. And Hunter Henry is a very good tight end, but you frankly only really used him in the red zone, and he wasn't a major part of the offense. The point I want to make about the weapons is, Cole, you've got to have a game-breaking weapon. You've got to have a guy that's going to stretch the defense, that's going to keep the defense honest. Jacoby Myers is a solid receiver. I'm glad the Patriots have him. I hope he stays in free agency. Kendrick Bourne was a great surprise for the Patriots. Love him in the future, solid receiver. But not only do you not have a number one elite receiver, I'm not even convinced you have necessarily a number two receiver. I think Bourne and Myers are like threes, and a good day, maybe a two. But if you're going to give Mack Jones a chance, you've got to put some weapons around him. And let me say this, Cole. You look at the Buffalo Bills, right? You've got a stud tight end in Dawson Knox who really emerged for them this year.
I don't know about stud.
He was amazing this year.
I mean, would you take Dawson Knox over Hunter Henry?
Yeah, I might.
Really?
It's close, but that's not the point. The point is you've got a really good tight end in Dawson Knox. You've got a stud receiver in Stephon Diggs, okay? And then you've got solid complementary receivers. You've got Cole Beasley. You've got Emmanuel Sanders. You have Gabrielle Ford, touchdown Davis. So Josh Allen has a lot of guys to go to. You look at the Chiefs. He's got Hill and Kelsey. After Hill and Kelsey, you don't have much, but Hill and Kelsey are studs. Yeah. I mean, they're elite. Look at Cincinnati. You've got Joe Burrow. He's got three amazing receivers. You've got Joe Mixon, who's great, and even C.J. Uzomah started to emerge in the last couple of playoff games. Tyler Boyd is your third best receiver. I got news for you. Tyler Boyd may be the number one receiver if he was on the Patriots. So at the end of the day, the Patriots have no weapons like that. And even when you look at the Chargers, like you look at the Chargers with Justin Herbert, you've got Keenan Allen, Jalen Guyton started to emerge at the end of the year, but
Mike Williams.
But honestly, Cole, I think that's number one on the Patriots besides revamping their aging defense. They've got to get a weapon that's going to scare other teams. They just don't have it.
Yeah, like I said, I think that, yes, a great weapon would definitely help, but would you take a stud wide receiver over a stud defensive player at this point?
I would. It's a great question you're posing right there. That's a really good question because you're talking about who they might take in the first round of the draft, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the big mistake is with the Patriots is Nelson Aguilar was an enormous mistake. I said it from the start. Nelson Aguilar had not had a pattern or trend of good seasons. It was a misguided signing. He's not that good. So, but to your point, good question. And for me, to have Mack Jones keep developing, he's got to have a guy that's a deep threat and a guy that's going to stretch the field. That's my take.
Mack Jones, I know a lot of people, especially a lot of New England fans, are going to get on me about this, but Mack Jones didn't really impress me this year. I mean, besides the Bills, the early part of the season, yeah, they went through that 6-game stretch of winning. But besides that stretch, he was pretty bad.
Well,
he was really bad.
I don't think that's fair for this reason because every rookie, first of all, the things he accomplished as a rookie were better than all the other quarterbacks drafted and better than typical rookies in their first year from an accuracy and consistency point of view. But that said, if you ask anybody that has played for the Patriots, they'll tell you that what makes the Patriots offense so hard to learn is there's so many different checkdowns and there's so many different plays to manage and run. So based on the knowledge base and the workload for Mack, yeah, he was bad down the stretch. I think he was just burnt out from everything the top year. And again, I like what I saw. I think there's potential there. He's just like Tom Brady in the sense that you can totally see why the Patriots liked him. What do they like in Tom Brady? They like Tom Brady's intelligence. They like Tom Brady's work ethic. They like Tom Brady's accuracy. That's what Mack Jones is.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the physical gifts like Tom Brady didn't either. And I'm not saying Mack Jones will even come close to what Tom Brady did, but you kind of know what you're getting in Mack Jones.
You do.
I don't know what the ceiling is, but I think it'll be interesting to see how he develops the next couple of years.
Well, I agree. Just the thing is for me that if you put a subpar defense on that Patriots team, they're a 6-11 team.
They may be.
They're a 5-12 team.
I don't disagree with that.
They're terrible.
I mean, they're so honestly. Last thought on the Patriots for me is this: when I look at the AFC right now, clearly no one would argue the Bills and Chiefs are the top of the food chain, right? The Bengals are kind of showing everybody that, talk about the Bengals, once they start drafting a couple of defensive players and they get some defense to go with that, watch out. The Bengals are there too. After those three teams, I mean, people say, I've heard a lot of Patriots fans, Cole, say, Patriots aren't even close to the Bills and the Chiefs, which I agree with. I'm not sure they're even close to the Bengals. I'm just not even sure of that. So, and I have to say, Cole, one of the things that kind of settled out at the end of the season is we're starting to see the upper echelon quarterbacks kind of settle them, kind of separate themselves out. Guys like Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, and don't get me wrong, I'm still an enormous fan of Kyler Murray, but he had a setback this year. He regressed a bit. So those guys have come down a notch. Well, Allen and Mahomes and Burrow now, they're kind of at the top of the food chain.
I agree with the Lamar Jackson point, and I agree with the Kyler Murray point. Russell Wilson, I think, is still a top quarterback in the league. He was injury-ridden all year. He had that finger injury in week 3? Yeah, week 3 against the Rams. And that ruined his entire season. He was having a great season before that, and we even saw him turn it on at the end of the season. So I think it's way too early to count Russell Wilson out as a top QB.
You may be right. All right, Cole, enough seriousness. I've got a trivia question for you. You ready?
Okay.
I'm going to read you 5 quarterbacks, and I'm going to ask you what is significant about these 5 quarterbacks. You ready? Jake Delhomme, Trent Dilfer, Mark Sanchez, Brad Johnson, and Colin Kaepernick. Any idea why I'm reading the names of those 5 quarterbacks?
Well, pretty much all of them are irrelevant except Colin Kaepernick, but
I like that. You're on the right track. They're all irrelevant. Anything else?
no.
Those 5 quarterbacks that you aptly named irrelevant have more playoff wins since 1994. That would be 27 years than the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I just want to say the Cowboys are a laughingstock. Like, they're just a flat-out laughingstock. And we didn't have a podcast after they embarrassed themselves against the 49ers. And I just want to make this comment. I am a fan of Dak Prescott. I root for Dak Prescott. But what it comes down to, Cole, is the Cowboys have the worst GM in football, Jerry Jones, who should just be an owner and hire a GM. Mike McCarthy is humiliatingly awful. He has no idea how to coach. It was a terrible hire. It was a lazy, recycled coach hire that wasn't thought through. And I have to say, the fears that people had about Dak Prescott before he got hurt was that he doesn't really make the big throw when it really matters. He tends to have bad interceptions. Kind of came out over the last several weeks of the season.
It did. I mean, Dak Prescott really let down Cowboys fans. I mean, Cowboys fans thought this might be the year they go all the way. Cowboys looked really good this season, especially with their 12-5 record. Like, I loved the Cowboys this year. I thought they were going to roll over the 49ers. I honestly thought they were going to get to the NFC Championship this year, but they obviously didn't. Dak Prescott is such an amazing statistical quarterback.
He is.
That's true. He can put up, he's like Joe Burrow, not game-wise, just statistical-wise, where he can basically put up 400, 450 yards like that. And he can throw for 4 touchdowns like that.
Well, I just want to say that's true. But I used to make this comment about Drew Brees, and not to take anything away. Drew Brees was an amazing quarterback. But Dak Prescott, the Cowboys' stat breakdowns are so different at home and on the road. And when he's playing on that artificial turf, and he's got Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz running up and down with Pollard and Zeke coming out of the backfield, he's got a ton of weapons on that turf, and he exploits that. And Drew Brees used to do that on that turf too. So again, yes, he's a good statistical quarterback, but look, at the end of the day, Cole, and this is where I want to go to here. So last play of the Cowboys-49ers game.
Wait, can I just interrupt you for 1
second?
You can. That list of 5 players you said, how do you lose to a guy named Dilfer?
And Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl.
No, he didn't.
No, he did. He's the worst quarterback in the history of football to win a Super Bowl. And the only reason the only reason there isn't a worse quarterback than him is because Peyton Manning got lucky enough to play Rex Grossman of the Bears in the Super Bowl and win against a chump team and quarterback. Because if Rex Grossman had won, he would have taken the title for the worst quarterback ever. So, but it's a perfect segue, Cole, because the end of the Cowboys-49ers game, this alleged brilliant offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, for some reason tells Dak Prescott to quarterback sneak with no timeouts. They've run out of time. And that leads us to what happened this weekend. And I want to start with the Bucs-Rams, Cole. Can you explain to me how, after the Buccaneers battle all the way back to tie the game, Cooper Kupp emerges wide open down the field? I mean, what's the scouting report Tampa Bay has on Cooper Kupp? Cover Van Jefferson, cover Tyler Higbee, cover Odell Beckham, but don't even worry about Cooper. Like, what's that all about?
So, I think the thing that's so special about Cooper Kupp.
Oh boy! I just have to warn everybody. Here comes the man crush from
Cole Altman.
Get ready.
I'm the biggest Cooper Kupp fan you will ever find on planet Earth. And in all seriousness, putting my love for him aside, he's just such a special receiver. He comes out of the slot, and he's super fast, and he can just break through defenders like it's nothing.
I feel like I want to put some romantic music on for you.
You should. I mean, if you look at that play, I know you guys can't see my hand right here, but they all start in the line of scrimmage. He comes through in the slot. He pretends to go left, and he cuts right, and he's wide open for a 60-yard pass. Like,
by you and I being the closest defenders to him on that downfield, it was his brilliance that got him open?
He broke through, and by the way, it was actually not the route that he was supposed to run.
But because he's so clever and savvy, he made the adjustment.
Cooper Kupp is so athletically gifted.
Okay, so look at the
He's
series.
incredible.
So I need to snap Cole out of this love moment. So Kellen Moore has Dak Prescott do a quarterback scramble with no timeouts. Cooper Kupp wide open. Bruce Arians, amazing coach, but apparently, and Todd Bowles, rumored for all these coaching jobs, apparently doesn't think it's important to cover Cooper Kupp, which leads us to the Chiefs-Bills game. Now, when we're talking about coaching, Cole, I want to just understand something. On the last possession with 13 seconds to go in that game, Sean McDermott could have kicked it so time ran off the clock so the Chiefs had one less play, but he didn't. He's a bonehead and he didn't realize it, okay? But he could have overcome that. And so what happens on the first play? Apparently, Tampa Bay is comparing notes with Buffalo with Cooper Kupp and Travis Kelce. So Travis Kelce breaks down the field. And by the way, Cole, do you remember the aerial view they showed on the replay where, again, you and I were the closest people to Travis Kelce? What's the defense on the last play of the game? Let Travis Kelce run amok down the field? Like, what's that about?
I don't think it's that simple. I think, Sean McDermott could have squib kicked it, and then they get it at the 40-yard line.
No, you don't have to squib kick it. You could just hit a line drive, bouncing kick that goes to like the 20-yard line.
That's a lot easier said than done.
That happens all the time in football. All the time.
I mean, it's tough to aim a squib kick. Like
it happens all the time. Almost every game. Like you're assuming that if they did a line drive bouncing kick down the field, it's automatically going to get back to the 40. That doesn't always happen. That's the whole point of doing that, so it's a shorter kick and the defense gets down there faster.
Well, tell me if I'm wrong, but if they kicked it to like the 20, it's just sitting on the grass, no one's touching it, is time running?
That's a great question.
I don't think it is.
No. It is running, but the referee has the objectivity where he can blow the whistle so it's not running aimlessly. So the referee might give it a second or two, and when he sees no one's touching the ball, he'll blow the whistle.
Okay, so like...
Well, what do you mean? That's the difference of 2 plays versus 1 play for Mahomes.
You think 2 seconds off the board would...
No, it's not 2 seconds. The clock starts once the kick happens. You see what I'm saying?
Really?
Yeah.
I think the clock starts once it hits the ground.
But that's the bouncy kick. That's the point I'm trying to make. If it's just a line drive kick, then the clock starts running.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
It's 5 seconds off the clock.
Yeah, I guess that's a big... If Tyler Bass is a good enough kicker to be able
Which
to...
he is.
He is. He's got the leg. If he's a good enough kicker to aim and bounce it at the 20-yard line, that would have been a smart decision. But obviously, Sean McDermott, he's not stupid. He had some reserves about it because he would have done it. He's been coaching this league for over 5 years.
Yeah, but it was the wrong move. I mean, you ask anybody, you ask the professional experts and analysts, you ask coaches, tons of people have been interviewed, and not one person has agreed that that was the right move.
No, I agree. It probably wasn't the right move from McDermott, from our perspective, but I'd like to talk to Sean McDermott and see what he was thinking.
Well, that's fine, but at the end of the day, what it comes down to is, this is the point. Kellen Moore, bonehead move.
Yeah, he's
Buffalo Bills, bonehead move. Not only in the kick, but the coverage of Travis Kelce, letting them go 50 yards in 2 plays. You know, people want to talk about Pat Mahomes. Like, Pat Mahomes is amazing, period, end of discussion. So I'm not arguing that. But you want to give Pat Mahomes credit for executing? Those 2 plays were wide open. He just hit players that were wide open. The Bills weren't covering the Chiefs' 2 best players, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. I mean, Cole, give me a break. You talk about basketball. When you have a defensive game plan in basketball, you make someone else beat you besides your best player. If I'm the Buffalo Bills, do not let Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce beat you in that situation. Make Byron Pringle beat you. Make McCole Hardman beat you. Do not let those 2 guys that are among the most elite pass catchers in the NFL, don't let them beat you.
I totally agree. I think just the thing that's hard to understand from also Sean McDermott's perspective is it's not that easy to stop Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, even if you have a double team on him.
But they weren't defended at all.
No, I know. But like, if you do, like you're saying, it's like just don't let them beat you. Like, how do you not let Tyreek Hill beat you?
Well, it'd be one thing if they were actually covered and they made good plays, but that's not what happened, which is my point. So look, at the end of the day, here's what it is. Good players and good coaches rise to the occasion when it really matters. Some people do it better than others. People aren't perfect and they're flawed. But to me, that's what made Tom Brady amazing. And that's what makes Bill Belichick amazing. And that's not to say Tom Brady and Bill Belichick didn't have their brain farts. They did. They've had them. But the grand track record is so weighted positively versus the negative. And Buffalo now 2 years in a row has missed opportunities to advance. And they have no one else but to blame on this one. I mean, the way they defended the last drive and the way with the squib kick, both situations Buffalo had. And so, track record of bad coaching. And we've seen it in the last 2 weeks of the playoffs. We've seen plenty of examples of it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Last but not least, and Cole, clearly I saved the best for last. We picked 2 specific hats for this podcast today. And first thing I want to ask you, Cole, is you watched the game, 13-10 final score. Green Bay scores a touchdown on the opening drive. They're at home. It's snowing. Their weather, their building that they dominate with that weather. And Aaron Rodgers put together for the rest of the game, the remaining 55 minutes, 3 points.
Yeah.
3 points.
Yeah,
So what happened to Green Bay, Cole?
I think that says more about the 49ers than it does Green Bay. I mean, Green Bay is a great team. Aaron Rodgers, although he's missed a regular season, can't come through in the playoffs. He is the best quarterback in the NFL. He is the best quarterback. And I don't know how you can play the 8 seed in the playoffs in the 49ers and only put up 10 points. Like, how would the Niners hold them to 10 points, and how are they only the 8 seed? Like, you have such quick hitters in Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, who both got hurt at the end of the game, by the way. I'm befuddled.
So
I'm perplexed. I'm dumbfounded, hornswoggled.
So just to confirm, are you saying Aaron Rodgers is the best regular season quarterback in the NFL?
Absolutely.
Okay, so not overall quarterback.
No.
Oh, okay.
He sucks in the playoffs.
Okay, so let me tell you why this was not about the 49ers. It was 100% about Aaron Rodgers, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm going to give you some stats about the game, besides his 3 points in 55 minutes. Aaron Rodgers threw 9 for 90 to Davante Adams, 9 for 129 to Aaron Jones.
9 receptions?
Yes. Okay. Guess how many, not receptions everybody else had on the roster. Guess how many pass targets the combined Alan Lazard, Equanimous St. Brown, Josiah DeGura, all these other guys that they have, Randall Cobb, guess how many targets they had?
6.
6.
Oh!
Very good.
What a call!
Very good. 6. And in the second half, there was 2 plays where, because Aaron Rodgers had such tunnel vision on Davante Adams, Alan Lazard was wide open on 2 plays, and that would have beat the 49ers zone, and Rodgers didn't see it.
And that's exactly why Tom Brady is so special, because he could spread the ball around to everyone.
Yeah, but the root problem here for Aaron Rodgers is he doesn't trust his other weapons.
Yeah, no, he doesn't.
And he got tunnel vision. We see it sometimes with guys like Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. We've seen it with Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen. We see this tunnel vision thing. And so Aaron Rodgers is 100% responsible for this loss. In the past, when people talk about his playoff failures, first thing they point to is, look how many points that the Green Bay Packers score in their playoff losses. 25, 30, 33, whatever. And their defense, it's always about their defense. This year, it was 100% him, and he knows it. And I have to tell you that in addition to this, I'm going to read you a few stats about his playoff ineptitude that really should shock our listeners. Number 1, Aaron Rodgers is 11-10 lifetime in the playoffs.
Oh.
Aaron Rodgers has the same, I think he's 10-9. But either way, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers have the same amount of playoff victories against NFC teams.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I mean, how ridiculous
I saw
is that?
that.
Okay?
Oh.
Now, here's another one. Since beating the Steelers in the Super Bowl, back in 2009 when the Packers won the Super Bowl, Aaron Rodgers' playoff record is 7-9. over the last 12 years, the best quarterback, the alleged GOAT, 7-9, 1-4 in the NFC Championship, okay? And he actually has more appearances on Jeopardy than the Super Bowl.
What kind of fact is that?
That's a great stat.
That's a buffoon fact.
Okay, so my question to you is, what does Green Bay do? $46 million over the salary cap. They've got to deal with Aaron Rodgers. They've got to deal with Devontae Adams. So what do they do to the vaccine-rejecting, Jordan Love-hating quarterback?
It's his time to go.
Yeah, he needs a new
It's
chapter?
He needs to go to Denver, and he needs to get Javonte Williams and Jerry Jeudy. That is what I'm talking about. Ben Friedberg, if you're watching this podcast, Aaron Rodgers, if he goes to Denver, Jerry Jeudy is gonna be lethal. Jerry Jeudy is one of the best route runners in the NFL. You just have to watch a couple film plays of him. He's so sharp and clean when he makes his cuts. Jerry Jeudy, amazing talent. Rodgers goes there, he becomes one of the top.
What do you think Cooper Kupp would say if he knows you're cheating on him with Jerry Jeudy?
Oh, I would never cheat on Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp and I have a thing going on.
Okay, I just want to make
We have
sure.
a real nice thing going on. I would never cheat on him.
We won't send this podcast to Jerry Jeudy.
No.
All right, Cole, let's finish up with some previews of the two games this weekend. Bengals, Chiefs. Keys, who's going to win in the key?
I think the Chiefs win. I think it's really close.
So they cover the 7.5-point spread.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think the run game is really going to come in key for the Bengals. The Bengals have a terrible run defense. They actually have a pretty solid pass defense. Not great, but pretty solid. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Darrell Williams, Derek Gore. Who's the other schmuck that they've been giving these carries to? Jerick McKinnon.
Oh, yeah, Jerick McKinnon. Yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere.
So you get those guys involved, and the Chiefs are going to win the game. If they can't establish the run, Joe Burrow.
If the Bengals can establish a run.
No,
Or the Chiefs
can establish the run. If the Chiefs can't establish the run, I like the Bengals.
Yeah, so I think that the key for the Bengals, if the Bengals are going to have any chance at all, Joe Mixon has to have over 100 yards rushing. He's going to have to really, and the reason why I say that is because you got to keep the Chiefs' offense off the field, and so the Bengals' running game is going to really have to control time of possession. So I think Mixon's huge, and I have to say, like C.J. Uzomah's been huge. I mean, you don't want to let Jamar Chase beat you. You try not to let T. Higgins beat you. You still have Tyler
Boyd.
Tyler Boyd, thank you. Getting old. And so I think that's the key. I don't think the Bengals can win. I think the Bengals, I'm rooting for them, don't get me wrong. The Chiefs just have been so dominant in those two playoff wins. For the Bengals, even though they beat Kansas City in the regular season in that thrilling victory, I don't see them going into Arrowhead winning that game. The Chiefs have too much momentum.
Jamar Chase, like Cooper Kupp, and I have another crush on Jamar Chase as well. Jamar Chase is unstoppable. He's got Tyreek Hill speed with Devontae Adams route running with who am I thinking of?
Cole's going to be starting a new podcast called His Favorite Receivers, starring Jerry Jeudy, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson.
With the Marvin Harrison long game.
You know what I just realized? Cooper Kupp is the only one of the four receivers you love. His name doesn't start with J. You may need to start calling him Juper Kupp.
Who are the four receivers I love?
Jamar Chase,
Yep.
Justin Jefferson,
Yep.
and Jerry Jeudy.
Hey, I don't love Jerry Jeudy.
Well, you put him in the...
I think Jerry Jeudy, if Rodgers goes there, will be good.
It's criminal that Jerry Jeudy even took up 15 seconds of this podcast.
Hey, I think Jermaine Kearse needs to be in there.
Oh, that's a great throwback. All right, Cole, last Niners-Rams. Niners have beaten the Rams 6 straight times. It's at the Rams. Rams 3.5-point favorite. Who wins, and what's the key?
Rams win that game. Odell Beckham's the key. Odell Beckham is the key to that win. He's going to need to receive for at least 100 yards. He's going to need to catch a touchdown or two. Niners defense has been pretty solid against the top unit of the offense. They pretty much shut down Devontae Adams. They didn't let him get in the end zone. I mean, 9 for 90, whatever. That's 10 yards a catch. That's pretty good. Kupp is going to get his. They're going to need to stop Kupp. Beckham's the key. What about you?
I think Beckham's a key. I also think Cam Akers is a key.
He sucks.
He had 24 carries for only 48 yards in this game. They just won over Green Bay. But he really had no training camp. He's still coming back from the injury. He's only had 2 games. So can Cam Akers emerge and be a factor in that game? I think is important. I really don't know. I'm struggling on this one. Like if I had a gun in my head, I'd go with the Rams. But the Niners have showed such poise and moxie beating the Cowboys and Packers on the road that it wouldn't surprise me if the 49ers won. And I am rooting for the 49ers. And, if the Rams win, they're going to play a Super Bowl in their home building. That'd be pretty special.
That sure would. And I just want to mention that Cam Akers fumbled 3 times. He recovered one himself, and he 2 of them.
Yeah, that was humiliating.
He's booty cheeks.
All right, Cole, final right call to end the show. Final thought. Running out of time. Final thought.
Go Bengals.
All right.
That's my final thought.
My final thought is go Niners. For Cole Altman, I'm Mark Altman. We'll see you next time.